The greatest art scam in history. The conman who fooled the experts. What if everything you believed about a historical masterpiece was a lie? What if the painting admired by experts, worshipped by collectors, and praised by museums, was not created by a genius from the 17th century, but by a frustrated man sitting quietly in a room, watching the world celebrate a fraud? This story is not fiction, it happened. One man fooled critics, fooled governments, fooled Nazis, fooled museums, and fooled the entire art world. He used talent, anger, patience, and revenge. His name was Han van Meegeren, and he did not just forge paintings, he forged history. Before we begin, please like, share it, and subscribe. Your support helps this channel grow. Thank you. Han van Meegeren was born on the 10th of October 1889 in Deventer in the Netherlands. His father Hendrikus Johannes van Meegeren worked as a teacher of French and history. His mother, Augusta Louisa Henrietta Camps, raised 5 children, and Han was the 3rd child in the family. His father constantly discouraged his artistic gift, forced him to write that he knew nothing, that he was nothing, and that he was capable of nothing, and those words shaped years of anger. His escape came from Bartus Kortling, a painter and teacher who taught him the techniques of the Dutch Golden Age, especially Vermeer. From that moment, Han knew one thing with certainty: art was his world. He studied architecture at Delft University of Technology in 1907 to satisfy his father. He passed his preliminary exams, yet refused the final engineering qualification because the pull toward art was stronger than any degree. He left architecture behind, moved to The Hague, and dedicated himself completely to painting and drawing. His early years were not quiet. He won a gold medal for a study of the Laurenskerk Church in Rotterdam. He worked at the Royal Academy of Art. He became an assistant to a professor of art history, and he began to sell portraits and landscapes. He married Anna de Voogd in 1912 and had a son named Jacques Henry Emile. He traveled throughout Belgium, France, England, and Italy. The rich paid him to paint portraits, and he enjoyed fame for a short while. His painting titled Hertje became popular, yet fame is unstable. Critics turned on him. They said he had skill, yet lacked originality. They accused him of copying. They mocked him publicly. They destroyed his confidence. He spent years trying to win their approval, and finally gave up. That moment changed everything. Driven by humiliation, he decided to beat every critic with their own arrogance. If they believed he copied others, he would copy so perfectly that they would authenticate his forgery with pride. He studied every detail of 17th century paintings, especially those of Johannes Vermeer. Vermeer produced very few paintings in his lifetime, leaving many gaps in history, and Han recognized that gap as the battlefield. He moved to the French Riviera in the early 1930s. He lived in a mansion called Primavera and began secret experiments. He purchased actual 17th century canvases. He ground pigments by hand. He mixed lapis lazuli, white lead, cinnabar, and indigo. He invented a resin mixture using phenol formaldehyde, known as bakelite, to make the paint harden like old paint. Then he baked the paintings in ovens, rolled them, cracked them, washed them with ink, and wiped off the excess. He used chemistry, heat, and deception. The paintings aged instantly. Cracks formed on the surface. The texture looked ancient. The colors looked perfectly muted. He created a Vermeer that Vermeer never painted. His first masterpiece of deception was titled The Supper at Emmaus. Abraham Bredius, the most respected Vermeer expert of the era, examined the painting. Bredius called it a masterpiece, praised it as the greatest Vermeer he had ever seen. Museums and collectors fought to acquire it. It sold for 520,000 guilders and entered the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen in Rotterdam. The art world applauded. Critics bowed. Van Meegeren watched from the sidelines, knowing he owned them. He did not stop. He forged Peter de Hooch. He forged other Vermeers. He became rich enough to live lavishly. The same critics who once called him unoriginal now worshipped his work without knowing it was his. Revenge had never been so profitable. The art world loved prestige. They wanted to discover a new Vermeer. They ignored inconsistencies. They feared challenging authority. One expert authenticated the forgery, and suddenly everyone believed. If they questioned the painting, they questioned the expert, so they stayed silent. Vanity became blindness. The economy also influenced the scam. During wartime, collectors wanted safe investments. They poured money into prestigious art. Van Meegeren earned millions of guilders, acquired properties, cars, and lived in luxury. During World War II, Alois Miedel, a Nazi art dealer, purchased one of Van Meegeren's counterfeit Vermeers titled Christ with the Adulteress. Miedel then traded it to Hermann Göring, one of the most powerful leaders in Nazi Germany. Göring believed he owned a priceless Vermeer. He bragged about it. He guarded it as one of his treasures. When the war ended, Allied forces raided salt mines in Austria and recovered stolen art. Among the priceless pieces was Van Meegeren's forgery. Van Meegeren was arrested on the 29th of May 1945. Authorities charged him with selling Dutch cultural heritage to the enemy. That crime carried a potential death sentence. To save his life, he confessed. He said the painting in Göring's possession was not Vermeer, but of Van Meegeren. The authorities accused him of lying. In court, he made a shocking offer. He said he would paint another Vermeer in front of them, under supervision, using the same forger's methods. Inside prison, surrounded by officers, lights, guards, and experts, he painted Jesus among the doctors. The world watched the forgery unfold. Experts tested the painting scientifically. They found bakelite resin inside the paint, a substance that did not exist in the 17th century. It was undeniable. Van Meegeren proved his innocence by proving he was a criminal. The court dropped the collaboration charge, the treason accusation, and the Nazi cultural theft claim. Instead, he was convicted of forgery and fraud. On the 12th of November 1947, he received a one-year sentence. He suffered 2 heart attacks and died on the 30th of December 1947 at 58 years old. After his death, his estate was liquidated and used to compensate those he deceived. Yet he became a national hero in the Netherlands. In a national poll, he ranked second in popularity, just behind the Prime Minister. He fooled critics, collectors, museums, governments, and the Nazi Empire. He changed art history without being part of it. His legacy survives as a warning, especially now in a world of artificial intelligence, deepfake technology, and perfect simulation. Today, his story endures as a caution about authenticity, value, and belief. In a world of deepfakes and digital illusion, his tale remains relevant. When we trust too deeply, we become vulnerable. Truth can be forged. The greatest forgery was not a painting. If you found the story fascinating, follow for more true crime, hidden history, and unbelievable deceptions. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you never miss another story like this.